I the Hunted. 5 minutes more, and I would once again have escaped to relative safety. From the baying sounds, I knew the pack had picked up my trail and was now circling to my rear. The scrawny tree into which I attempted to blend like the bark itself offered no cover from that direction. Ahead of me lay an open, grassy area. I had no choice but to cross it and seek concealment among some bushes on the far side. Employing the technique of the scurrying squat, I raced into the open and right into the trap that had been laid for me on the grounds of Delmore Blight Grade School. Curses! Rupert Skraggs, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, snapped his famous half-Nelson on me. Through bulging eyeballs, I saw the clever ruse with which he had tricked me. A blind assembled out of a group of quivering fourth graders. His baying pack, consisting of Wilfred Hogmeyer, Fats Moon, and Clarence Simp, had been but a diversionary tactic to flush me out into the open. "You boys stop your fighting this instant, or I'll send you to the principal," screamed the harried teacher condemned to playground supervision. Even as Skraggs sighed and loosened his half-Nelson, dropping me with a plop to the ground, I wondered at the rarity of playground supervisors who could distinguish between a fight and a beating up. "You lucked out this time, punk," Skraggs snarled, "but I'll get you after school." "Oh, yeah," I croaked, massaging my Adam's apple back into something resembling its original shape. "You don't scare me, Skraggs." I chose not to explain why I had spent the lunch hour imitating the bark of a tree. "We'll see about that, you puny little rat," Skraggs snarled. "Yeah, and you got dandruff," I retorted. I made a mental note to work on my repertoire of insults. Dandruff, for pity's sake. The bell rang, mercifully ending the lunch hour. In retrospect, I now see that Rupert Skraggs taught me some important lessons. During my grade school years, when I was still too young to hunt, he provided me with the opportunity to serve an apprenticeship as the hunted. Nothing so well instructs a hunter about hunting as once having been hunted himself. Off and on, during the years I was incarcerated in grade school, Rupert Skraggs would hunt me for weeks at a time. I learned to move quickly, silently, covering my trail as I went. I learned to take on the protective coloration of my surroundings, whether the school playground, a vacant lot, or the movie theater. I even learned to catch Skraggs's scent when he moved upwind of me, although anyone who sat near him in a hot, humid classroom would scarcely be impressed by this achievement. Skraggs had lain in ambush for me in 4th grade. When I was in 2nd, he was in 4th. When I was in 3rd, he was in 4th. And when I finally made it to 4th, Skraggs was still there, as if waiting on stand for me to come to him. He was then promoted right along with the rest of us, just as if he knew how to read and write. I suppose the reason for his promotion related directly to the teacher's dislike of having a 4th grader who sported a mustache and sideburns. I should mention here that although Skraggs routinely beat up the rest of us boys, apparently looking upon it as an inexpensive hobby, he did so usually without malice, almost cordially. What his beating-ups lacked in pain, they made up for in humiliation. You might smile and wink debonairly at a pretty girl flouncing by after school, but the effect was lost if your head at that moment was protruding from one of Skraggs's half-Nelsons. Some of my friends held the opinion that it was best and safest to go along good-humoredly with Skraggs's beating-ups. The idea was to act as if it were all in good fun and a welcome relief from your otherwise boring existence. I never liked that idea. Perhaps that is why Skraggs took such a serious dislike to me. He considered me a spoil sport. I once made the mistake of trying to reason with Skraggs. "Listen, Rupert, you're not proving anything by beating me up all the time. Why do it?" He thought a moment, then suddenly brightened, as if having hit upon a profound truth. "'Cause it's fun, dummy. Pow! In my appeal to reason, I failed to take into account the entertainment factor. I then decided to challenge Skraggs to a fair fight. My friends Bruce, Peter, and I against Skraggs. We confronted him on his way home from school one day. "Hold it right there, Skraggs," I said. "I got a bone to pick with you." Skraggs turned, rolling up his sleeves over his burly arms. "Yeah? You and who else?" "I'll tell you who. Me and Bruce and—" I was distracted by the sound of running footsteps diminishing into the distance. Well, me and my friend—" The sound of another set of running footsteps diminished into the distance. "So, Rupert, how you doing today?" 6 blocks away, I managed to shake Skraggs off my tail, but I knew the next time he caught me, the beating up would be a good deal less cordial. Most of my classmates harbored the hope that one day Skraggs would make the mistake of beating up one of us badly enough that he would be sent to reform school. I was the odds-on favorite to gain status as his ultimate victim. I could tell from the looks my classmates gave me, looks of sympathy, looks of relief. It finally came clear to me what I would have to do. I would have to murder Skraggs. Every day, during the geography lesson, I would plot the perfect murder. It would be simple but ingenious. The police would be baffled. Inspector: "First time I've run into a case like this. The culprit is obviously a brilliant but diabolical chap. Note, Watson, the clever use of a homemade arrow, impossible to trace." Watson: "The arrow killed him, then?" Inspector: "Not really. The tip of the arrow was dipped in a highly poisonous substance. My guess is it's spoiled potato salad. Deadly stuff. My own mother warned me about it." Watson: "But what's this contraption?" Inspector: "A framework of old 2x4s and fence posts cleverly constructed at the proper height to hold the crossbow. Note how the structure is covered with weeds to conceal it. The string, you see, leads from the trigger on the crossbow to the victim's bicycle seat. Any pressure on the bicycle seat releases the arrow. Absolutely ingenious. Do we know, Watson, if the victim had any enemies?" Watson: "Yes, sir. Several dozen of them are at this moment out in the street cheering." I never did get around to murdering Skraggs, although there was some mystery about the framework of 2x4s and fence posts discovered in the brush near his house. It was probably just as well. As the years passed, a peculiar thing happened. Skraggs began to shrink. By 7th grade, I was the same size as my old adversary. By the time we reached high school, I towered over him. Oddly, the more he shrank, the nicer and more ingratiating he became. I'm pleased to say that I'm not the sort of person to hold a grudge. Even though I could have taken my revenge by beating up Skraggs any time I felt the urge, I did not do so. In fact, I often took him pheasant hunting with me, just to show him my appreciation for all he had taught me in my years as his quarry. My one disappointment with him as a hunting companion was that, although he learned to retrieve nicely, he never caught on to pointing worth a darn. On the other hand, I sort of enjoyed his whining when the late duck season opened.